Hey everybody, Matt here again. This week we're going to go over week 6. Week 6 already. Week 6 in the careers class. This week we're going to wrap up unit 3 by completing lesson 5. So I'm going to just take a few minutes to go over what you missed. Once again, we spend a lot more detail with this in the call-in session, which is on Tuesdays, right up here. You can find it right up here, Tuesdays at noon. Call in, and much of what I talk about here we'll spend in more detail, but then you don't have to do the readings, and I can give you some shortcuts, and you'll get a lot more out of the discussions and the participation in that small group, or just even listening to that small group discussion, than you will get reading this information. So I strongly encourage you to call in and attend if you can. But for now, take a few minutes. We're going to go over this, what we missed in this lesson, and we'll go from there. So, lesson 5, this week we're going to talk about learning styles. And learning styles don't necessarily mean how you learn in school. Learning styles are important, and we're going to talk about how understanding your learning style can be applied to your job and why it is important. Because understanding your learning style will help you find, how should I say, you're going to find your job more rewarding. You're going to be better at your job because it's going to align with how you think and how you learn and how you acquire information. And that's what learning styles are. Learning styles are not necessarily how you learn in school, even though that plays a huge role in it. But learning styles are how you acquire information, and what are your strengths and what are some of your weaknesses in how you acquire things and how you learn new skills, which of course you will learn on the job. So there's a few readings here. I'm going to highlight a handful of them. I'm going to kind of pinpoint a few things. Don't forget that you need to go through and read these things. Don't rely on our video alone. So the first activity that I assigned here is Unit 3, Required Reading 8, Learning Style. It just talks about what the 8 learning styles are. So there's a very short reading that you can do. It talks about the different 8 learning styles, and they're listed right here. Verbal, visual, tactile, logical, mathematical, rhythmic, musical, interpersonal, and intrapersonal, and naturalistic. So go through and read this. Now, there's going to be a couple things that you're going to do. First of all, before you're just going to read that reading. That's going to give you a little introduction to what learning styles are. Then you're going to have to complete a worksheet. Now, this worksheet is something that you are going to need to turn in. If you cannot open it, you can write it down on a piece of paper and just copy and paste it into a Word document or something along that lines. But there's a little questionnaire you're going to have to fill out. Yes, another questionnaire, one of many. I think this is the second or third one we've done for the class. So, and you're just going to have to answer a few questions. Let me open it up here. Your form might open differently. I did have one student say that she was having some difficulty saving it to your computer, and that is fine. And I'll explain how to resolve that problem here in a moment. So this worksheet is going to be a little grading sheet to help you figure out what your learning styles are, what your learning preferences are. You'll see that there's questions for each one of these, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic, so forth. And what you're going to do is, I'm just going to go up to the top one, and you're going to fill out each section. So this first section is visual. You can see it right here. You're going to click on boxes that you either agree, neutral, or disagree. When you're done, you're going to add up each column. The disagree, you get 0 points each. Neutral, you get 1 point, and agree, you get 2 points. Getting a low score is not wrong. Okay, it's the point is not to get the highest score. The point is to be able to rank them from lowest to highest. So just because if there's some areas that you get a lot of disagrees and you get 0, that's fine. That's not, the point is not to get the highest score, it's just to be able to compare and contrast. So we're going to look at visual. I'm going to do 2 of them to kind of show you what we're going to do. I like to photograph things around me. Yes, I do. I like to read books with many illustrations. Neutral. Okay. I remember information if I see it in a chart. Yes, I do. I understand a map better than written directions. Yes, I do. Now keep in mind this is yours, not mine. I am good at creating pictures or graphs. Neutral. I can see a design in my mind, then recreate it on paper. Neutral. I was torn, but I'm going to do neutral. I can easily imagine how something would appear if I was to be looking down from it from a tall height or a rooftop. So what this question is asking, if you are sitting on top of a roof, or if you're not, if you're pretending you're sitting on top of a roof and looking down, can you imagine what something would look like from the top? Whether it's your house, something in the street, whatever. So I can visualize things pretty well. I like to work with colors and see how they blend. Nope. I like to draw and design things. Kind of. So I add these up. 0 here. So neutrals, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, plus 2 is 6, 8, 10, 12. So I get 12 points here. That's my score for visual. I'm going to just double check, make sure I 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, I get 12. Now I'm going to scroll down to one that we're going to say that's visual. The next one we're going to do is verbal. Okay? I love to read. Now as a teacher I'm supposed to say yes, I love to read, but really I'm more neutral. Okay? I like to solve crossword puzzles. No, not really. I've written papers, stories, poems that earned praise from others. Yeah, not really. Okay, people often ask me to define words I use when I speak. No, not really. When I speak, I like to reference things that I've read or heard about. Yes, I do like to do that. I'm a good storyteller. My kids would probably say I'm fine, is what they would tell me. I prefer verbal or written explanations over maps, charts, and graphs. No, I prefer maps, charts, and graphs. I would rather listen to the news on the radio than watch it on television. I like both. I like when teachers use textbooks, handouts, and readings. Now, I prefer graphs and charts and things like this. And so I'm going to put 0. So now I'm going to add this up. Oops, I'm scrolling around here with my mouse. I'm going to add this up. I have 1 agree, so I get 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. So I got 5 on this one. Now, I'm not upset because I have a higher visual score than a verbal score. I knew that. I actually knew that about myself, and some of you might be surprised about what your answers are. Or it will just help you learn more. It will help you identify jobs. So here's this form you fill out. You're going to save it to your computer. Now, if you cannot save it, you can just open up a Word document. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Hit the wrong button. If you cannot save it, which some students can't, just open up a Word document, put your name on top, okay, and then just type it, put a heading, learning styles, and then I could put visual and spell it right. 12. Verbal. 5. Is that what I got? I think so. So and then you're just going to list them out, save it, turn it in that way. But I'm not going to save this, and I'm not going to save this one either. Okay, so getting back to the careers class, I want you to fill that out. And I really kind of want you to fill that out before you do the next assignment. So going down, we have a brief description of the learning styles. When you read that, you're probably already going to have an idea of what your strengths and weaknesses are. Then you're going to fill out the worksheet. Unit 3 assignment, all you're doing is turning this in. Just upload it. And when you click on it as yourself, it's going to upload here. So I'm going to switch it over to a student version. You're actually viewing my screen here as a teacher, not a student. So I'm going to scroll down. So when you turn it in, just upload file, find the file, whether it's the Word document or the actual form with the boxes is fine. Okay, now there's a learning style table, and this is kind of important. This is one that I want you to read, take a few minutes to go over. There we go. Okay, I'm going to enlarge it here so you can see. Okay, this is kind of the meat of the assignment. So now that you've already completed your survey, your checklist, and found out what you're good at and what you're not good at, there's a couple things to consider. What types of jobs use those skills? In your job, you will always be acquiring new information. You're always going to be learning new things. Whether it's just talking to coworkers, or whether it's actually researching a project, or listening to a customer, or writing emails or correspondence, or designing plans, or whatever it is, you're going to be doing those things. And things that you are better at, learning styles that you're better at, you want to find a job that has those particular characteristics. For example, learn verbal, listening to speaking, writing, listening to words, writing, reading, and speaking. So that is one characteristic of somebody who's verbal. Okay, just kind of mark it in red right here. People that are good at this remember spoken and written information, writing and speaking, and understanding verbal cues such as tone, inflection, and suggested meaning. Jobs, over on the far left, related careers. Now these are just a handful. Of course there's hundreds and hundreds of different careers, but these are just a couple examples. Someone who is verbal is a good writer, editor, maybe a lawyer, a journalist, a teacher, translator, politician, librarian. Very verbal. They're good listeners. Therapists, psychiatrists, so lots of kind of doctors are good at that as well, because they need to understand verbal communication. You're going to also see a lot of overlap on some of these. Okay, the next one is visual. Okay, I'm going to make this one kind of green. Oh, that's kind of an ugly color. Seeing information, charts, pictures, and videos. This is one of my strengths. Okay, I'm a visual person. I would much rather see it than read about it. It will take me a few minutes if I read a chart to understand what's going on, versus reading a whole written report about it. So, or perfect example is reading a map instead of written directions. Understanding charts, graphs, talks about what people are better at. Creative visual thinking, they can create vivid mental pictures. Like my wife, use her as an example. She is not as visual as a person. If we're designing or planning something in our house and I'm moving the furniture around, she has to see how it's going to look. So I have to move the furniture to decorate the room for her. She cannot picture it in advance. We talk about designing something and adding something into our house, or landscaping. I have to put the plants in the right spot so she knows what it's going to look like. She can't picture it, and that's fine. That's not her strength. People that are good at this: interior designer, web designers, painters, navigator, architect, engineers. Once again, this is just a couple examples. Someone that's tactile. They like working with objects. Okay, they like to work with their hands. They like movement. They like, whether it's touching stuff or moving something or moving their body. Doesn't necessarily have to mean moving their entire body, and we'll get to that one here in a moment, but they like to interact with space. They like to manipulate and move things. It could be with their hands, it could be with their whole body, but they're up and moving. People that enjoy making, I'll change colors here. We'll go to red on this one. Somebody that likes crafts. They like to build stuff with their hands. Physical coordination and balance are often good, but not always. There's different levels of someone that's tactile. My son is a very tactile person. He's average when it comes to his physical coordination, but for example, he can sit down and build Legos and things like that for hours because he likes doing that. Here's other athletes: massage therapists, physical therapists, dancers, actors, coaches, sculptors, trade laborers. I would add construction workers, contractors, some of those things in there as well. People that would like building and working with tools, I would add that onto that. You're going to see that some of them would be visual and tactile. An engineer would be both, possibly. A machinist might be something that's a little bit more tactile because they like to work with their hands. Someone that's logical and mathematical. That's this one. I'm going to switch to blue over here. Someone that's logical and mathematical likes working with patterns. Okay, categorizing. They're good problem solvers. Figuring patterns, analysis. Somebody that's just, math is patterns. Somebody that's good at identifying patterns, often in terms of math. You're going to see a lot of doctors, lawyers, scientists, techies, IT specialists, things like that. You're going to see a lot of those people in this category. Somebody that's good at math. That's just how their brain works. Some people understand that, some people don't. Rhythmic and musical. Okay, harm, rhythm, melody. You just know those people that are good musically. They can pick up an instrument and just play. They can hear notes. They can remember songs and rhythm and music. Instruments, singing. They can understand pitch and rhythm and tone. Of course, dancers, singers, that'll always fit in this category. And the last one, oh, there's two more, excuse me. Interpersonal. There's a few more. Interpersonal, someone that likes communicating with other people. They enjoy communicating with others. Okay? They like working in groups, dealing with conflicts, working with other people's emotions. A lot of jobs out there, counselors, teachers, salespeople, people in leadership positions, once again, politicians, but a lot of salespeople, people that they're just people. Out of that, they enjoy working with people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm going to delete this and scroll up here just a little bit. But an interpersonal is someone who really enjoys working with others. Someone who's intrapersonal, that is something that's different. Intrapersonal is someone who enjoys working by themselves. It's the opposite. Usually, a lot of people fall into one of these categories more than the other, but they like working alone. Okay, they would much rather work by themselves than work on a team. A lot of writers. There's different people here, researchers. Once again, someone who's a psychologist might like working with people, but they would maybe in a much smaller group. So it doesn't necessarily always mean alone, but maybe it's in a small group versus a large group. And finally, someone that's naturalistic likes working outdoors. They enjoy, whether it's physically working with nature, plants and animals, but they enjoy spending time outdoors. That is just how they like to learn, how they like to explore, and things that they like to do. So that's a very brief overview of the learning styles. Now, coming back to this assignment, so far you've done the required reading, you've completed the worksheet, you've submitted the worksheet, we've just looked at the table. Then there's a required reading that talks about developing your learning style. Now, some styles, whether you like it or not, some jobs you're going to have to develop areas that are not your strength. You can't necessarily make something your strength that wasn't before. I am not a good singer. I'm not a good musician. I might be able to get better at it with practice, with the right instruction, with the right coaching. But just because I practice it does not mean that I'm going to ever be the next American Idol. So on here, this is a reading, and this is important to look at. And what I'd really like you to focus on when you look at this is reading the areas and learning how you can improve areas that you might not be your strength. You might have some weaknesses. Those are the areas to improve. If you are a very tactile person, you're a good athlete, maybe you're coordinated, maybe you're good at working with your hands, that developing those skills and making them better is always important, and continue to do that. But if you are not, say, a verbal person, the best thing you can do is read. Find something that you enjoy and read. If you have a job that requires a lot of reading and you are not a verbal person, you're going to have to develop that skill. If you are a very visual person and you want to be an engineer, but you also want to be part of the construction phase, if you're building something, you're going to have to become a little bit more tactile or mathematical. So this reading talks about developing learning styles that are not your strength. So, all right, so finally the second assignment that you're actually going to submit is you're going to state and describe your 2 learning preferences, your top 2 learning styles. Include activities that you'd be most successful doing, and describe how these match your activities. Don't just choose something off the list. Choose something that you do. Include your worst learning styles. So your best and your worst, and then describe why understanding your learning style will help you become more successful in the workplace. Because that's what this assignment's about. How can you apply this to a job that you're going to have someday? If you are a very intrapersonal person, you like to, maybe you're very verbal, and you like to read. You might not necessarily like speaking with people as much, but you're very intrapersonal. You like to read. You like to do things independently. Being a politician might not be the right place. Maybe it is. But working on a team with others to develop a product might not be as good of as good. Working with customers in a sales position might not be your strength. But maybe working and writing the reports and working behind the scenes, you'd be very good at. So that is the next assignment. And finally, since we're at the end of Unit 3, we have a job study. Job study this week is, I can't remember off the top of my head. There we go. Oh, nursing. Nursing. We have a lot of students that want to go into nursing. So there's a job study. Use the Minnesota Career Information System to answer the questions for that job study. Well, that is this week. Just a quick review again. I want you to do learning styles, identify your learning styles, research learning styles, learn how to improve your learning styles based on these activities, and then of course there's a job study. As always, we meet on Tuesdays at noon. If you have any questions, you can contact me at this number or email me at this number, mcoder@emailmtcs.org. There's our live classes. If you cannot attend to this live class but would still like to some time one-on-one to go over these activities, I would be happy to do so. So just call me. All right. For now, that's it, and you guys have a great week.